So, I mean, growing up, when I was told I'm going to be talking to people, they would say come out and picture everyone wearing their underwear so you'll feel comfortable and won't be nervous. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to picture you all as different bagel varieties, so you all look yummy. So, I love bagels. Plain and simple. I love everything bagels. I love poppy bagels. I love sesame bagels. I just love bagels. I mean, I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, which happened to be the landing spot for the bagel when it came over in the 19th century from Poland. And it's funny, in Yiddish, the word bagel means ring and bracelet. And this is really going to blow your minds. It used to be a gift that was given to women after they gave birth. I could just see that going well now. You know, the family has twins, and the husband comes in and goes, "Honey, I got you 24 bagels. The babies look so great." The wife's like, "What?" "But they're assorted. What do you mean?" But yeah, you know, that just seems. 9 years ago, Amy and I moved out to Shelter Island, and we would come out on the weekends and in the summer, and each time we would go for breakfast, I would order a bagel. No surprise there. I would take about 2 or 3 bites and spit it out or discard it. It tasted like paper mache, or it didn't have any taste that I would really, you know, like to eat. I would turn around and complain to Amy, and Amy, being the good wife that she is, would listen to me until I shut up, or let me know when she's had enough of me talking, and then I would shut up. And it was like growing up, I had bagels every day. I went to high school in Brooklyn, I worked in the city, and I was always surrounded by bagels. And I spent 32 years in the travel industry, and I kind of assumed that that's where I was destined to finish my career. All of a sudden, COVID struck. And I'm like, oh no, you know, it knocked the legs right out of the travel industry, and I had no idea when it was coming back. It was right then and there, the light bulb went off in my head. I said, that bagel store on Shelter Island. You know, I was working from home, my wife was working from home, and I went into her office. I said, Amy, I decided to retire from the travel business and open that bagel store on Shelter Island. She looked at me like I had 3 heads, started to cry and curse. Said, what are you doing? You don't know how to make bagels? You don't even know how to make us dinner reservations. I'm like, it's a bagel. How hard could it be? She just shook her head in disbelief. So I left her office, or got thrown out of her office, went down to mine, and I Googled bagel consultant. I figured there has to be somebody in today's day and age that can tell me how to do anything online. Saw somebody, called her up, said, hi, my name is Darryn Weinstein. I want to open up a bagel store. Can you help me? Another one that started laughing. I don't get this stuff. She said, yes, of course. So I went out there, and she had a commercial kitchen, and for 3 days, she taught me how to make bagels, how to make dough, made a couple of thousand bagels, had a great time. She's like, just go and run with it and let your imagination run wild. And I was thrilled. I said, I knew this wasn't going to be too difficult. The only downside to that was in November, and the bagel store wasn't opening until April. And Amy kind of assumed that I was going to be practicing during that time. And I didn't. You know, I just, you know, my thinking was that no one's going to be lining up at my house to buy my bagels. Why am I going to make them in the oven in the kitchen? This didn't really sit well with me. You know, I said, Amy, don't worry about it. When the ovens come in the store, I'll practice in there. And the ovens were scheduled to come to the store about 2 to 3 weeks before I was going to open them. I know this is going to shock you guys, but during COVID, there were delays. The ovens came into the store 2 days before we were supposed to open. And Amy's going crazy, calling people behind my back, telling people I'm delusional, and you know, he's going to fall flat on his face. You know, I don't know what to do. He just walks around telling everyone he's got it, you know, and good luck. So basically that's where I was. And then I just opened the doors and just started making bagels. And turns out that I did have it. And it was just good. And all I can say is that I love what I do. I get to work anywhere, depending on the time of the year, between 2:30 in the morning, 3:30, 3:45. That'll answer you what time I get up in the morning. And I'll work maybe 12, 13 hours. And then I'm sure a lot of people work that long. But I don't feel it. I still don't feel like I've worked a day since I opened up the bagel store. And I kid you not. My goal has always been to make everyone happy, to make it an amazing experience when you come into my store, be it from the food, be it from the vibe, be it from the trip down memory lane into the 70s and the 80s, or just being there and schmoozing with friends, or talking to me and having a great time. And I kind of think I nailed it, and all I can do is thank the people of Shelter Island for giving me a chance to be able to do this. And it's like I make what I love what I make, and that's all I want to do. So that'll pretty much, that's my journey, that's my nutshell, and if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer that.
So how did you decide to go with sourdough instead of regular dough?
So I've tasted a lot of bagels, and it's funny, I was just out in the Midwest and they have a different type of bagel, and it's kind of more of a, to me, almost a dinner roll tasting. It was light and fluffy, very good, but it didn't have that tinge that grabbed me. When I was growing up, bagels and bialys, every time, if you ate them plain, you tasted them. It was almost like eating rye bread, right? Without the seeds. But it had a taste, and that's what I liked. And that's what I found, in being taught how to make the bagels, that type of dough will allow it to have a taste. I've been told that the bagels have the sourdough taste, something say the vinegar taste, something, but there's always a taste to them. And that's what I'm aiming for.
What bagels did you like when you were growing up? What bagel stores did you go to?
So growing up, the bagel, so I used to live about a block and a half away from what was the bialy capital of the world, where they made all the bialys and bagels that they would send out to all the stores in Manhattan. It's called Kozar's. And I loved it so much that I would be in there 5 or 6 times a day, literally sitting on the old lady's lap at the register, hanging out when I was 5 and 6 years old. So I love bialys. As far as bagels go, back then the only ones they had were plain poppy and sesame. No one ever heard of everything or anything. And every now and then you had an onion bagel because it would be onions from the bialys that they would put in there. And I love the bialys so much that I don't make bialys, because I was intimidated at how good they tasted that I would not be able to make a bialy in that realm. Now, anybody else might say, oh, that's really good, but I'll know the difference. I will never make a bialy.
You ever tried Absolute Bagels?
No, where are they located?
107th Street, Broadway.
No, I was always more on the downtown. I've eaten H&H, I've eaten Essen, I've eaten Tal, Best Bagels, New York, and I appreciate a good bagel no matter where it is. I mean, when I go away on vacation, I'm not looking to go to the museum, I'm looking to go to all the bagel stores.
What about the myth that you can't make good bagels without New York City water?
So there is a myth about water. The truth of the matter is water basically plays about a 10 to 15% role in the taste of a bagel. Now, I'll let you know, I do not make my bagels with Shelter Island water. I do not truck in Brooklyn water. I do not truck in Manhattan water. I use bottled water. And I do it for a reason. I want consistency. I want to know that each bagel I'm going to make is going to have the same consistency. And I want you guys to know that, because the worst thing as a customer and a consumer is walking in wondering, is it going to be good today? Is it going to be bad today? What's it going to taste like? I mean, we see that with many of the coffee shops, many of the coffee, chains. Like I've gone into one, cold brew is fantastic on Monday. You go back the next day, you take 3 sips, it tastes like mud and you're throwing it out. To me, consistency was a key. And the only way to achieve that was to use the same ingredients all the time.
Well, first of all, when you first opened, it was like the biggest thing to hit Shelter Island. I felt like my friends would say to me, "Oh, what's going on in Shelter Island?" I'll be like, "It's the craziest thing. We just got a bagel store." It's like changed the island. Everybody's walking, everybody's going there. It was such a buzz, and it's been great. But it does seem like from the outside that it was like kind of seamless. You decided you were going to open up this bagel store. You knew nothing about making bagels. You seemed so happy doing. Like, was there any challenges along the way? Was there any time you felt like, God, what the heck did I get myself into?
I think I'm just too stupid to think.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to have fun with it. You know, I came from a very stressful job. I headed up an air department for 32 years for a big travel agency. And I was basically on call 24/7. I was the only parent probably growing up when it would snow. And my kids would come running, "Daddy, Daddy, it's a snow day." I'm like, "Get away from me." You know, it was like people were missing connections, they're in the wrong seat, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And to me now, it's just a bagel. You know, the bagel comes out bad, I'll make another one. You don't like it? Please, have a chocolate chip cookie. You know, that's what it is. I can put a smile on your face. When I was in college, I ran a Haagen-Dazs in New York City. It was the busiest Haagen-Dazs in the city. It was on 3rd Avenue and 34th Street. I ran it for 3 years. I took away 2 things from running that store. 1, a lot of ice cream. 2 was how amazing is it? Because I noticed that everyone that left the store was smiling. They're eating ice cream. I said, if any time in my life I could be working in a job where everybody is smiling when they leave, bingo, nirvana. I've done it. And that's what I try to bring to the store. I want you to be happy.
Great.
On average, how many bagels do you make daily?
Well, it will depend on the season, but
Sure.
during the season, it can go anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500.
And how about this time of year?
Not that many.
100?
Yeah, in that range, 100 to 200, depending on the day of the week.
But the
Yes, I wish every day, if I had my druthers, every day would be a Saturday in July.
So not only did you open Eccentric Bagel, you opened with the entire theme intact. How did that evolve?
You know, I gave her my theme that, you know, I love the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. I had my fun in the 80s. And if I ever had to step back into something, I want to step back to the 80s. Late 70s, early 80s, disco was ruling. I was clubbing, you know, that was it. So we took that and we tried to have an 80s style TV on the wall, playing MTV videos, 70s and 80s commercials, 70s and 80s newscasts, the disco ball, great music blaring. It's all about that.
Your Jeep didn't even exist in the 80s.
No, it didn't. But the funny thing is that I saw that color, you know, when I was looking for a car. I said, I gotta have that color. And it took a while, and I got lucky. I was just riding down, you know, 25 in Mullins. It was in the driveway, and I just pulled in and I said, "Is that for sale?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I'll take it." You know? And then we had Hampton Signs was nice enough to make the decals that are on there.
Yeah.
And it adds. It's just all about fun. That's what it should be like. I mean, at my age, you know, I want to have fun with what I'm doing. I don't mind working hard, but it's got to be fun.
No, I was just thinking, you were going back when you were talking about the 80s. It's funny, it sounds like you still carried on that spirit. I remember bookstores all full of positive thinking books. And now you go, they don't even have a positive thinking special. But I was wondering, was there a book that actually a positive thinking book that you carried on from the 80s that you still kind of, I don't know, like,
I mean,
like
you know,
The Secret
back
or whatever,
in,
you know, all these other,
back in the 80s, the only books I read were the ones I was forced to read. So it was like 1984, Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't start
You didn't do that
reading,
whole
you know,
process.
books about positive thinking until, you know, somewhere in the 2000s. I realized it might be good to, you know, think positively.
Maybe it actually was. I was trying to remember what era it was when all the bookstores were full of pot and everybody was on it. People were getting loans, no doc loans. Maybe that was the 80s. But then all of a sudden you go to the bookstore. There were none. Because people, anyway, I just was thinking about.
Back then it was all Wall Street partying,
Yeah, okay.
Asking for a friend, would you consider expanding into egg creams?
So I actually
What are these?
looked into a company in Brooklyn where I called up to try and get the blue seltzer bottles delivered. They wouldn't deliver out here. And my only concern was about expanding, because I loved egg creams. I used to go with my dad, on Avenue A in like 4th Street, where they would sit you down on the thing. They would do it out of in the metal container with a little paper cup in there, and stick a pretzel in it, and a real egg cream. But I also thought that not enough people will know what an egg cream is, and I didn't want to get stuck with it. Not to mention my store's kind of small. Need that wall stretcher to be able to do that.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions? Gabby?
Darryn, talk to us about your creative process. Like, for example, the hot chocolate bagel and the marshmallow cream cheese.
The creme brulee bagel.
Yeah.
So, these kind of ideas, this is going to sound a little nuts because it does when I tell Amy, they come to me. They come to me in a vision. And I will be thinking about something, and I'll keep thinking, that'll be a great bagel. I like to believe, and I almost want it as a tagline, if you could think it, I could bagel it. So I will think about it and ruminate for days until how can I make this into a bagel? Because I'm not really one to go by directions. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and I will extrapolate from this to that, how can I make it into a bagel? And that's pretty much it. Like the hot chocolate bagel actually came from my daughter. She had said to me, Dad, it's the middle of the winter, why don't you make a hot chocolate bagel with like marshmallow fluff cream cheese? I'm like, you know what? And that was like on a whim, and all of a sudden, the little gerbils in the head start running round and round, and I'm thinking, how can I do that? So I figured it out. I took hot chocolate mix and put it into the dough and mixed it with some espresso and different types of things to give it flavor, and voila. We had the hot chocolate bagel. But a lot of those bagels, I just think of how would it taste? What could I do to make it taste the way I want it to taste? And that's what I do.
Could you walk us through the process of making bagels?
There's only so much I can tell you because I literally am under, signed away that I can't give away any secrets to the person that taught me. So, but I mean, it's a process. It's not like the dough is made at 7 a.m. and the bagels are made at 2 p.m. So I will make dough. We'll form the dough. Then we will proof it. Then we will seed it. And then we will put it in the oven to bagel. And depending on the bagel that I'm making, whether I'm inserting stuff into the dough or putting things on it, will determine how long it'll stay proofed, how long, what mixer will I use, is it rolled by hand, is it done by machine, all those type of things go into it.
I just remember when I was a kid going to a bagel shop where they had big vats.
Right, so that's boiling.
Yeah.
There are two types of bagel stores. There's the boil and bake, and then there's the steam injection and bake. So I go with the steam injection and bake. You really can't tell the difference. I think it actually makes it the outside a little crunchier. But I do it for twofold. One, I'm conserving about 1/3 the amount of water I would do if I did the boil and bake. And two, based on the room that I have, the oven that I use converts from a steam injection oven to a convection oven. So it allows me to do everything in one thing, and I just don't have the room for it.
Do you see yourself expanding on the island?
On the island?
Well,
Because there's so many people in the winter.
Like, I know in the summertime.
So what I would like to do, if there's some way to do it, is to get to the parts of the island in the summer that people don't come to me for. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like maybe something down by a waterfront, you know, somewhere where someone's going for another reason, and they say, hey, a bagel, you know? And that is a possibility that I'd be looking into. Yeah.
Bagel truck?
So, again, everything has been thought of. It's just a matter of it making it work. And of course, as we know on the island, staffing, you know.
No trouble there.
No trouble, right, exactly.
So, are there any flavors that you tried and rejected?
No. The only one that I will say that I wasn't happy with, although people seem to like it, I made a couple of months in, you know, around the first Thanksgiving, I made a cranberry walnut bagel. And it was good, but for some reason, I didn't like it. And it's like, I'll go with, if I don't like it, I'm not going to serve it. If I love it, I'm going to serve it. So that's the only one. And since I've opened, I've come up with over 41 varieties of bagels.
Wow. What's your favorite?
My favorite? I'm an everything guy. But I also like cinnamon raisin. And then, you know, sometimes it's like, I'll look at them when they come out of the oven, and they're talking to me. You know, I'll take a plane and I'll eat it. Right. You know, and it's just, they're good. Sometimes, I made a sun-dried tomato and Italian herb bagel. Delicious. That easily shot up to be one of my favorites. And then there was a garlic parmesan bagel where I based the bagel in garlic-infused olive oil, put it in the oven, mid-bake I'll take it out, and we had made a fresh garlic paste that I'll rub across each of the bagels and put Parmesan cheese on top of it, and then put it back to finish. That one is also one of my favorites too. But again, I can't make all of them, especially at this time of year. You know, A, I'm limited to the room, and B, there's just not enough people that'll come in and want to keep buying bagels. You know, people are always watching their carbs and calories, and you know. So, but yeah, I do have favorites as well. But they're like children. Can you really pick a favorite?
Have you, the person your consultant who you started with, have you told them about some of the flavors and the varieties that you've stayed in touch with that person?
We've kind of lost touch.
Yeah. Do you have any other?
She was more of a
get you off the ground.
Well, don't get me off the ground, but when I was doing things, like I said, I go by the seat of my pants. She was more of a recipe kind of person.
Do you have other, when you go someplace, do you try and talk shop with folks and stuff?
Absolutely. I learn every day. You know, it's like, I'm not the end all of bagels. You know, everyone has great ideas. I'll look at I look at what they do, and in my mind, what can I do to enhance it? And that's how I go about things.
So how do you get all those seeds to stay on your bagel? You must baste it. You baste it with oil or butter?
Edible glue. Elmer's, it's edible. We all ate them in kindergarten.
I might be at the time.
Exactly.
I mean, because even looking at your shirt, you get way more seeds on your bagels than there are.
This is not an eccentric bagel design. I'm saying that right now. I have a spray that I put on the bagels before, and it's not glue, before they're baked, that will hold the seeds onto it, you know, through the baking process.
So you seem to have a real, you have taste buds for taste. You like to, so are you a good cook aside from your bagels?
Absolutely not.
You are, because I've had one of your pot pies and it was delicious.
I'll discuss, well, Bennett helps with the pot pies. He's the master. The pot pies is my idea. Bennett is a master, and we work together in creating them. Mm-hmm. So it's like we talk about, you know, you would ask me how many bagels do I make during the seasons and everything. What I realized is basically from April through October, I'm a bagel store. And bagels are the #1 priority. from October through April, I'm here to feed you guys. And whatever I could come up with that I think is great, that's gonna bring you into the store, that's what we do. That's why we came up with the pot pies. That's why the bagel chips. That's why the bagel dogs. You know, whatever I could think of, because, you know, you look at a day like today, windy, cold, and no matter how good my bagels can be, you might not wanna get up in the morning and go get a bagel because it's too cold outside. But if you have a pot pie waiting for you, if you have soup, if you have a bread bowl, if you have chili, you know, that's reason enough to bring you in. But the answer to that, your question, so before we opened, Amy must have figured maybe he does know how to cook. So it was her birthday, and instead of, you know, I said, well, what restaurant would you like to go to eat? She goes, no. I want you to make dinner for me. Like, I got this, right? Took all day. She got chicken cutlets and mashed potatoes. But she saw me fiddling in the kitchen, running out to get ingredients. She's thinking she's getting some gourmet meal. No, I am not.
You're not a
cook
chef.
outside of that.
Okay.
Rosemary and salt is my favorite, but we're curious about what is the most popular bagel,
So-
sales-wise.
The most popular bagel sales-wise is the everything bagel.
Oh.
Because everything, then plain, then rosemary and salt, sesame, jalapeno cheddar.
Delicious.
Cinnamon raisin, you know, I love cinnamon raisin. It's like I would think they would fly out. I mean, they move. People like cinnamon raisins, but they're not. They're not.
I'm guessing the rye is the least called for.
Rye and pumpernickel. But I do like. You know, people like eggs because I'll make an egg bagel and I'll make an egg everything bagel. You know, so it gives them a variety with it. And what I've noticed is, you know, it's funny how analytics will come into play. It's like you realize what bagels sell on what days of the week when more people are in the store. So that's where I try and gear. You know, like earlier in the week, I might not make specialty type bagels because there aren't enough customers coming in. But throughout, as we get closer to the weekend, there'll be more varieties of bagels as it goes along.
So you said you're making the chips off season. Will you make those for
The
the
way
summer
these
too?
chips are going, I might have to figure out a
You
way
have
how to
to.
make them all year round.
Yeah, the rosemary.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Salt
See,
you have
again, the only problem with it, you know, how I make the chips is like after the morning rush, we could take them out, we slice bagels, we brush them with oil, and, you know, we make the chips. But it's done on the whole table. But in the summer, you know, it's like that table doesn't empty at any time, and I'm constantly baking. But the way they're moving, I'll have to figure it out. I'll have to wait for that vision.
Is there anything that you've learned, not negative, but a lesson that you took away of, well, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to find a different way to approach something?
So, that's a very good question. I try and look at things from different angles before I make a decision. So, what I have learned, I can only say, is basically in the number of bagels to make and ordering food. Because I had never been in retail before this, you know, food industry retail. So learning from my prior, I'll say, mistakes will help me advance. You know, there are only two ways to learn. One is making mistakes and the other is asking questions. And I'm not afraid to do either.
I was a little nervous about you taking the space of the Eagle Deli, just because it was a place that everybody went to and it was affordable. And it's been wonderful to see how you've actually created a place that everybody can come to at, you know, various different price points. Was that intentional? Did you think about that?
Absolutely, because to me, a bagel is every man's food. You know, it spans the spectrum. You know, and pretty much at one point in everyone's life, they've had bagels. So that's what sticks with you. Again, it's nostalgia. It takes you down memory lane. You know, so, and it will go. Look, I have bagels that'll start from $2, and you know, I'll make a vegetable bagel with fresh vegetables inside of them, and that's almost $5. And I get it, but you know, it will span the spectrum, and it allows people to have a meal for $5, $6. You know, and yeah.
What's gonna be fresh tomorrow?
What's going to be fresh tomorrow? Tomorrow's specialty bagels will have the smoked bacon bagel, which is another bagel where bacon is made in the dough and the bagel is glazed with bacon fat. And then what else do I have? Egg tomorrow. No egg tomorrow. Smoked cheddar burst. So the cheddar burst bagel is a bagel that's made with cheddar dough that before I roll it into a bagel, I add more cheddar cheese so that when you slice it, you'll have a swirl of cheddar cheese inside your bagel. And I've done that with apple pie. I've done that with many bagels, but yes. Great. Any more questions? Yes.
How long does the dough have to rise? Or how long does it take to rise?
So it's two functions. It's rising after it's made, and then proofing after it's refrigerated. So I will spend, it can run anywhere from a couple of days. And the longer I let it sit, the more of a tinge it will have. Depending on how.
I'm just comparing it to making bread,
How many do you put in the oven at once?
My oven can hold 225 bagels at once. So
How do you know how many of each you should make?
just by learning, by experiencing it. When I first opened up, I might make 4 or 5 dozen of each, and I realized, why am I sitting with 3 dozen poppy seed bagels when all the everything sold out? You learn as you go along.
Do the day-old ones become the chips?
Correct.
How many employees do you have?
I will, right now, there's 5 in myself, not all working at the same time during the year. In the summer, we can go up to 9, all working at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does the summer change the flavors? The demand, is it different in the summer?
I'm able to do more. I'm able to
Just
put
more
out
of the
more
same?
flavors.
Oh,
No, I'm able to put out more flavors because, at different days during the week because there are more people that'll come in and try them. The hardest part about creating new flavors and bringing them to life is getting people to buy them. Because I've always found that when you're walking into a bagel store, you've got blinders on. Now, I'm going to the bagel store, I'm going to get my everything with cream cheese, toasted, and I'm going to just get that. And then you walk in and like, hey, I have a curry flavored bagel, would you like to try that? Oh, no, I won't make it. So it's my job and fun for me to try and get people to taste new things and expand their palates. And there are some customers that, I make a za'atar bagel. There are a lot of people on this island that never knew what za'atar was. And they've come in and it's their favorite bagel. Well, cream cheese. It's gone from, and to me, this is the best feeling that I get, is when I opened up, people would come in, I want this, I want that, I want this. And now it's like, Darryn, what should I have? What should go with that? I think the biggest compliment I was ever paid, and when I think about it, the hair on my arm still raises, is a woman was eating a bagel outside, and in the summer, and when I have a moment, I like to walk out and see everyone, how are you doing? Are you liking everything? How's it tasting? A woman turned around to me and said, I wish my father was alive to taste your bagel. And it's like, I didn't know what to say. And that doesn't really happen often. But I was floored. And all I could say was, thank you. I mean, that's the nicest thing that someone could say.
What's your record for most bagels made in a day?
1,700.
Wow.
Do you believe in Montreal bagels?
So I actually like Montreal bagels. I like the honey water and the little bit thinness of it and the brick oven of it. I love all. It's like, again, doesn't mean my bagel is the best. I love them, but I like other bagels as well. I happen to like Montreal bagels. What? So a Montreal bagel is
like Chicago pizza.
It's dipped in honey water. It's a thinner bagel, almost like I make a flagel, but it's not as thin as a flagel, and it's baked in a brick oven. So, and it comes from Montreal. There's a whole bunch. There's like a St. Louis bagel, there's a Chicago style bagel. You know, they're not much different, but you know, there are all different types of bagel styles out there.
What do you think about the New Yorkers who left and went to LA and opened up all of those bagel stores, and now LA has the best bagel?
You know, it's like, good luck. You know, it's like I still have people that go out there and come back here, and they'll say to me, yours is better. I mean, again, the best is the people that live in New York and Brooklyn that stop at my store to pick up bagels to take back to Brooklyn, to take back to Manhattan, or say to me, I can never eat another bagel after eating your bagel because nothing will compare to it. You know, so again, I'm not afraid of competition. I like it. I learn from it, and it only makes me better.
Are your bagels all the same size?
No, they're artisan bagels. So the definition of an artisan bagel is that they will not be the same size, they will not be the same shape. They all pretty much weigh the same. You know, I don't make them smaller, but sometimes some will expand more, sometimes some will contract. You know, and it boggles my mind. I haven't figured that one out. You know, sometimes they'll look at, how can that get? I don't know, it's eccentric. You know, we have the right name, because to any question I'm asked that I don't know, I just say it's eccentric. Anything else?
Do you have any trouble falling asleep at night?
Not at all. So I typically go to bed 7, 7:30, 8.
Unless it's bingo day. Right?
Unless it's bingo day. Right? Then I hang out with Adam and we play bingo. And, you know, I'll wake up 2, 2:30, you know, depending on the day. And I fall asleep pretty much head hits the pillow. And then I'll come home after work, you know, 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'll take a little bit of a nap.
What time does your wife go to bed?
She will get into bed, you know, 9, 8:30, 9. Depends if she's feeling tired. But it's not like she's going to bed to go to sleep. You know, has her computer. No kneading the dough. She will have her computer and watch it. She's multi-talented. She could watch TV and play on her computer at the same time. And yes, she is very nice. She'll tickle my arm until I fall asleep. Now we know. Bagel Man's secrets. Guys, that's it. Well, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.